guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. Now in today's video, guys, I got a pretty relevant YouTube video for a DBD discussion video. I was initially going to do suggested Trapper buffs, but conveniently this mid-chapter developer update that just got released yesterday just announced that they are going to be buffing Trapper and many other changes. Now, I've already seen this, I've already gone through this, already looked at this. I just wanted to make this as a video and show you guys the overview of what this mid-chapter update looks like and my thoughts on all of it. I think right off the bat, this is one of the best updates that we've ever seen in DBD. I don't know what the devs thought about. It's like a light bulb just popped up in their head and all of a sudden they came up with a brilliant idea. This is what Dead by Daylight has been needing for years. Maybe not years, but months. This just update that gives us a whole bunch of changes around a lot of different things. This is exactly what we needed. So I'm going to go over it with you guys. I'm lucky I got this video in on time and at a relevant time because this post just got up yesterday. So obviously I don't have enough time to just do it right off the bat. But it is the day after, so it is still pretty relevant. This developer update has not been released on P2B yet, so we don't know what everything's going to look like, what to expect with some of the stuff, like the add-on changes that are coming and stuff like that. So, yeah, I will leave all of the other stuff to talk about at the ending of the video. Let's just get right into this. I am very excited. So the DBD developer update, I'm not going to read word for word like other YouTubers do. I'm just going to go over some of the changes that they made. So, the first change, the Trapper. So it says, did you know the number of bear traps that spawn on the map is random? That's right, each try will spawn between 4 to 6 bear traps at random. Yeah, this was a big problem for Trapper because you never knew how many traps you were going to spawn with. You could get something like Red Forest, and you could only get 4 traps, and that's all you get. If you don't have a bag out on, that's all the traps that you are getting. So Trapper had a very limited amount of traps, and it just felt really bad on bigger maps. So right off the bat, they are changing it and making it so that 6 traps always spawn on the map, which I absolutely love. And they said that also having more traps is great and all, but wouldn't it be nice to carry more than one without add-ons? We sure think so. The Trapper will now be able to carry and start with 2 bear traps by default. This is good. I don't think they had to go over the top as I was initially going to say when I thought about doing a Trapper suggested buffs, but I would have immediately regretted that because this developer update would have came out the next day that I made that video. So, yeah, 2 traps I think is very ideal. It'll make it so that he's less add-on dependent. When you start out the game with Trapper, normally you only want to set 2 or 3 traps, so this is the perfect amount of traps for Trapper to start out with, and it will still leave opportunity to have Trapper bag add-ons if somebody decides to use them. But now Trapper does not rely on Trapper bag add-ons. He can go without one of those and put on a different add-on instead, which is really nice. I really like that. So I think those are the 2 major changes that they had. The only thing I would say about this is I think they could have done a little bit more. One of the things that I was going to mention in my DBD discussion video about suggested buffs to the Trapper, which was the initial video I was going to do for this DBD discussion, is that the rescue and escape time for survivors rescuing other survivors from a trap is way too quick, and I wish they would have addressed that. But these are the main issues, so I'm glad they got them out of the way. They'll probably touch this up, some of the other issues that I talked about, that I was going to talk about with Trapper in other patches, where it'll just kind of be a minor change that they're going to do to Trapper, and Trapper's not going to be like the upfront change that they're going to add. So this is really great. I love this. This is exactly what I would have done. Just a few extra things that, you know, the devs always miss a few things, but this is absolutely great. No problem at all with any of these changes that they made. They're also changing some of the add-ons with Trapper. Well, they're pretty much going all out with changing a whole bunch of add-ons for various different killers, but here's a few examples. It says a bear trap resets 2 seconds after a survivor escapes from it. Not a bad idea for an add-on. Not sure what I really think about that yet, because if a survivor gets trapped in gets trapped and they escape from it, I feel like there is definitely a possibility that another survivor will come through and fall into that trap. It happens a lot. So I guess it's more of a time-saving thing than more of like a clutch, oh, that survivor comes back to the trap thinking that it's untrapped now. Like, let's say survivor goes to Killer Shack, gets trapped at the window, and you start heading there. They escape in the nick of time, and they continue to loop Killer Shack, and the trap resets 2 seconds after they escape from it. Then this could come in clutch. Other than that, I think it's more of just time saving, pretty much. Not really sure what to think about this add-on at this moment. So, and then we got the Trapper Sack, which says all bear traps are carried at the beginning of the trial instead of spawning on the map, which I really, really like that. Combined with Eerie Stone, this could be really good because the second part says bear traps cannot be picked up because Iridescent Stone will reset traps every 30 seconds, or just set traps that haven't been picked up by the trapper. So this could be very good combined with Eerie Stone, but I think even without Eerie Stone, I don't think the downside is that bad. I know a lot of people are scared about the downside and all, but as long as you're not messing up your trap placement, I don't think it's that bad, honestly. Typically, you're only going to set up not even 6 traps on the map. You're probably going to set up like 5. So it leaves room for a couple more traps to set up. And some of those not all those traps may get value throughout the map anyway. So, yeah, I really like this. They could have touched on a few more things, but these are the main changes that Trapper made that are immediately going to make Trapper a lot better. So, yeah, I'm not going to... If I'm going to say anything bad about their changes that they made to Trapper, it's just stuff that they could have added. So I'm honestly nitpicking. This is a great change. But, of course, there's always going to be additional changes that they could have made. Next up, we got the Spirit, which has needed changes for a while. And basically, the thing that they're touching up on is making it so that Spirit does have some counterplay. And how are they going to add counterplay to her? She has a directional phase sound now. And dust will kick up, locating where she is at, basically. Here's my problem with this change, is I know, at least for me, and I know a lot of other casual players, if you're going up against Spirit, a lot of casual players don't pay attention to sound and visual cues, like those minute sound and visual cues. I know I don't typically, unless like I'm really focused in the game for whatever reason. I'll pay attention to grunts of pain and stuff like that, but I usually don't go out of my way to pay attention to like grass moving or I don't know, survivors breathing. I don't really pay attention to those minute details because I don't really have a top tier set or headset or top tier headphones that I would wear throughout my games because I don't really like wearing headphones when I'm playing games. I just like to play casually. But then again, visual and sound, like the small visual and sound cues really only affect Spirit. It's just, my only problem is that casual players typically aren't going to pay attention to these little cues. This is going to be more beneficial for more top tier survivors, who are more competitive and they care about winning the game. So that doesn't mean that I'm just going to be absolutely lazy, at least for me, and I'm not going to pay attention to these. I definitely will for the first couple of matches going up against Spirit. I'll try to pay attention to those just to see how obvious they are or if they're not too obvious. I would hope they're not too obvious. I hope that the survivor has to pay attention a lot to know exactly where they are. Yeah, the only thing I don't like about this change is that it doesn't really help for survivors who are just casual and they don't really care about winning the game, in which, well, if they don't care about winning the game, then why would they want to counterplay Spirit? So, yeah, I like this change. It's really good for better survivors and whatnot, and I'll definitely try to pay attention to that if I'm going up against Spirit, just to see how obvious it is, like the visual cue of the dust. The directional phase sound, that will definitely be a lot easier to pay attention to. It'll probably be the phase sound, but it'll be coming from a certain direction, so you know where the Spirit is. So, yeah, I think this is a good change overall, just for survivors like me, at least, and other people. I usually don't really pay attention to those very small details, but yeah, I'm gonna stop talking about that. And, show you some of the add-ons that they featured. So they said They showed these two add-ons. One of the examples is, during Yamoka's haunting, use the active ability button to return the husk and end the haunting. Return to the husk and end the haunting. What I like about this add-on is it makes the standstill mind game a little bit better, because let's say, for example, a spirit stops at a pallet and uses her power, and she uses this add-on to do a mind game in which she uses her phase to go around the obstacle that makes the loop near the pallet, to mind game the survivor and make them vault the pallet, and then immediately press the active ability button once they hear that the survivor has vaulted the pallet. That could make the standstill mind game a lot better, because now the survivor can pay attention to those directional and visual visual cues, and they'll be like, okay, well, the spirit is coming this way, I better vault the pallet, like, because they're on the other side of the pallet. And you can mind game with them with this, and then press the active ability button to come back, and I think that would make the standstill mind game a little bit more engaging, because it reminds me of the standstill mind game, but you're actually doing something and not just standing still. So I really like this add-on. I think this is a great idea for an add-on. So yeah, no complaints about that. The only problem is it might only come into use every once in a while, maybe once every 2 or 3 games. So great add-on. It's just pretty situational unless you're a really good spirit. But yeah, I think it's a great idea for an add-on. No complaints. When Yamoka's haunting ends, the spirit's husk explodes and any vault locations within 4 meters are blocked for 5 seconds. So I think this is supposed to prevent like, once you get out of phase, it's supposed to prevent survivors from, like, vaulting a window right after you get into the phase, because I know that's pretty annoying, and it happens to me a lot of times when I'm playing spirits. So yeah, I can understand this add-on, and we'll see what happens. Not really sure what else to say about it. Just it's better to find out what this add-on does when PTB comes out, and we'll really see the full potential. Alright, so I know that the Trapper and the Spirit changes are really, really good, but I think this add-on change that they're adding to the game, and I will tell you about it here in just a second, I think this is what Dead by Daylight has needed for a long time. I appreciate the devs changing perks and whatnot, but for the longest time, they needed to go over a bunch of useless add-ons, or add-ons that are just really, really messed up, and definitely needed changes. So I like that they are going all out, going through many, many different killers, and changing their add-ons up and stuff like that. So this is probably my most favorite part of this developer update, because this means that I get to test a whole bunch of different add-ons, a whole bunch of different changes. So I'm really, really excited for this killer add-on update. So basically the add-ons that they're going to be going over are going to be Hillbilly, Nurse, Shape, Hag, Oni, Blight, Wraith, Pig, and Ghostface. And they're also going to be taking out the word descriptions in the add-ons, like tremendously, slightly, and moderately. I think that's a really good change. Because sometimes it was a little bit vague, the considerably and tremendously. You didn't really know if the tremendously meant 6% or 20%. But now that they have the exact numbers in there, you don't have to do data mining to figure that out. So really, really great change. Happy they're doing that. And I guess just for the fun of it, let's go over what my thoughts are on the add-on changes for these killers. So Hillbilly, don't really think he needed some add-on changes other than some of his, like, bugged add-ons and stuff like that. But I guess something is better than nothing. Most of his add-ons are pretty bad, I will admit, after they did the nerf to Hillbilly. So I guess this is good. Some of his add-ons that they introduced when they made the Billy nerf were really good, and some were really, really bad. So yeah, I'm glad they did this and they're revising it after a year. The Nurse, I think this is really good because only a few of Nurse's add-ons are good, especially if you're a good Nurse. Most people are going to use recharge rate or distance add-ons, so hopefully they make more add-ons viable. And especially change those stupid iridescent add-ons that are just horrible. The Shape, oh my god, he has needed an add-on change for the longest time. Honestly, if they just made a patch that was supposed to buff Shape or change Shape in some way, all they would need to do for me is change the add-ons and I would be honestly satisfied. Of course, I would want changes to the shape to make him better, but he has needed add-on changes more than anything. So I'm glad they are doing that, because some of his add-ons are insane and shouldn't be in the game, and some of them are just terrible. So I'm glad they added him in there. Hag, some of her add-ons are bugged, and they've been bugged for many, many years, so I am glad that they are going over Hag. That's pretty much the main part that I am excited for Hag's changes and add-ons, just to help some of those buggy add-ons and make some of the worse add-ons better, so that's good. Oni, some of his add-ons are really, really bad, and some of them are... I don't think any of them are really OP, just some of them are really bad, so... Yep, that's okay with me. Blight, some of his add-ons are really, really terrible, and I would even go about nerfing some of his add-ons, because Blight is probably the least add-on dependent killer in the game, so I'm glad they're making changes to his add-ons, because some of them are insane, some of them are terrible. The Wraith, not really sure what they're going to do with that, but I guess they're going to get rid of probably the meme add-on, or change the meme add-on in some way, because some of his add-ons are pretty bad, or mediocre at most, so yeah, that's good. You know, something's better than nothing. Pig definitely needs some changes on some of his, especially yellow and brown add-ons, and Ghostface definitely needs some changes with his add-ons. Some of his add-ons are really terrible, besides the recharge rate ones. I just wish they would have added in a quick fix with Ghostface, where all they do is just reduce the cooldown of his power, and on top of that, change the add-ons, and I would be very satisfied. But, you know, something is better than nothing, like I said. So, yeah, this is by far my most favorite part of the change, because it means I get to experiment with so many different changes of the add-ons and stuff like that. Hopefully they just don't make some really crappy add-ons. Like, they just change out the old add-ons and put on even crappier ones. But I doubt that'll be the case. I think we'll get some good add-ons in here. So, very excited for that change. Perk updates, of course, always got to throw in some perk updates. We haven't really got perk updates in quite a while, so I'm excited for this. First up is Vigil, and they're still sticking with this exhausted stuff and whatnot, which I don't think that really fits the name of Vigil. I know that's kind of nitpicking, but Vigil means that you're, like, staying on, like, watch or whatever, and I guess the perk description has never really fit the name of the perk. So, anyways, they buff Vigil. The recovery rate has been increased from top tier 20% to 30%, so that's good. And instead of doing it for hemorrhage and some of the more less punishing status effects, they're doing it for the more punishing status effects like broken, exposed, and oblivious. So I'm glad that they changed it out for the more important ones. Do they still have the exhaustion? I'm guessing they still have exhaustion in here, right? Vigil will now increase the recovery state of broken, exposed, and oblivious status effects as well where applicable. In short, more situations, it's useful and even faster recovery. So, did they take out the exhausted status effect? I would like to know. But if they did, I don't really have a problem with that. I didn't really think Vigil was all too useful for increasing the exhaustion recovery, in my opinion. When I used it a few times, I just really didn't notice a difference. But exposed, oblivious, and broken, now that could be a lot better, because you don't have to run it with other perks to get value out of it. So I really like this change. Babysitter slash guardian. So they're changing the name of babysitter, which I don't really get why, but oh well. So what they're doing is the rescued survivor will now receive a speed boost for 4, 6, 8 seconds, in addition to not leaving scratch marks or pools of blood. I really like this change. Babysitter was one of the worst anti-tunneling, like, perks. So now hopefully it's seen more in people's builds now that they made this change. No complaints. Really good change. I really like it. For the people, basically all they're doing is reducing the duration of the broken status effect. I never really thought the duration was like a huge problem, but I guess reducing it just makes the perk better, so I can't complain. It'll make it so that the trade-off for, like, you know, trading someone's health state isn't as punishing, and just ultimately makes the perk better. So I can't complain about it, but all I can say is other perks could have been changed rather than this, but, you know, not going to complain too much. So Hex Retribution. Hex Retribution would only make a survivor oblivious if they cleanse a dull totem. Now, basically, when you cleanse a totem, with Hex Retribution. It doesn't matter if it's a Hex or a Dual Totem, it'll work. So, like that change. And they've increased the duration from 10 to 15 seconds. That is insane. I thought 10 seconds was fine, but 15 seconds, I guess that's a good change, because if you're not playing somebody like Nurse or Spirit or Wraith, like a high mobility killer, that 10 seconds of information wouldn't be as beneficial as it would be on more mobile killers. So I like this change, and it makes the primary part of this Hex perk better, and I really like that, because there are some perks where, like, the primary, what's supposed to be the primary part of the perk is bad, and the secondary part of the perk is really good. And Hex Retribution was one of the perks that was that case. Like, nobody really cared if they got Oblivious if they cleansed a Dual Totem. I'm not saying it doesn't do anything, but I'm glad they at least made it work on all the Hex totems. So I'm glad that they changed the what's supposed to be the primary part of the perk, but really it's the aura reading part. So I'm glad they made changes to both. No complaints there. Hex Blood Favor. Basically, they took away the cooldown, and it will work on special attacks as well. I don't think they needed to make it work on special attacks. I feel like that's going a little bit too far, but whatever to make this perk better, I guess. Because after all, it is a Hex perk, so you want to get as much value on it before it potentially gets cleansed. So reducing the cooldown was really, really crucial part about that. I know some people suggested for Hex Blood Favor that it blocks all the pallets outside of, like, a 16-meter radius from the survivor. I don't think that was really needed, but I'm fine with them just reducing the cooldown and making it work on special attacks. But we would need to do testing to see if the whole 16-meter radius thing would actually be beneficial, because a lot of people have been saying, well, survivor gets hit, they run away, and it'll be better if a pallet... Shut up. Sorry, guys. It would be better if a pallet away from them, where they're getting distance, because they're more likely to run away after getting hit from a pallet that they're nearby, instead of just staying near the same pallet. But good change. It'll make it more worth the perk slot and more worth the Hex perk, because if you have a cooldown on a Hex perk, I mean, that's just doubling down on the perk right there. So I'm glad they took away the cooldown, because it's a Hex perk. I mean, it already has it already can get out of the game potentially, so why add a cooldown? So I'm glad about that. And Hex the Third Seal, we've added special attacks as well to the Hex the Third Seal. I really like this, because that will make Hex the Third Seal more viable on killers who are reliant on special attacks. So I really like this change. It'll make it work on a variety of different killers, and whatnot. The main problem with Blindness Perks is that it's not the effect, or it's not the idea behind the perk, like hitting survivors and making them blind. It's the blindness status effect itself, which needs to be changed. Which, if I were going to change the blindness status effect, I would remove the ability to see perk bubbles as well, and that would make this perk a lot better. And blindness, other blindness perks and add-ons alike. So, great change otherwise. And then Hex Thrill the Hunt, they're basically preemptively changing the perk so that it can punish the new boon totems that'll be coming to the game in the future. So we'll see how effective this will be in the future, but right now it's just kind of there and waiting to see the change after this. So, and then the last thing is the item and character kill switch, which it says with over 50 playable characters and their cosmetics, nearly 200 perks and hundreds more add-ons and offerings in the game, sometimes things do break. Rarely things will break in a way that makes them exploitable, and that can make the next week or two before a fix really rough. Enter the kill switch. It's actually a lot nicer than it sounds. The kill switch allows us to disable anything that's causing an issue without needing an update. When something breaks and becomes exploitable, we switch it off until it is fixed. This is something we've been able to do with maps for a while now to a great effect. Disabled items and characters will be clearly marked and cannot be selected. I really like this change because if a killer's having a rough match where a survivor is exploiting something or a killer is exploiting something, they can immediately turn off that exploitation so that they can't use it and prevent it from happening to anybody else. So I'm not exactly sure how this works, but it is good for the game, and I'm definitely happy they added in something to the last little bit as something to fix potential bugs that happen in the game or glitches that survivors or killers can exploit. So overall, one of the best developer updates that I've ever seen in the game. The devs went all out with this. The Trapper buff is really, really good. The Spirit nerf is really good to make her have more counterplay, but I don't think it's absolutely going to kill Spirit, but we'll see how that happens in the live servers when PTB comes out. Overall, I think this is an absolutely great mid-chapter developer update, and I can't wait to play games with these new changes and everything like that, because there's going to be so much new add-ons to try out, and we get to try out the new Spirit and the new Trapper and see how they feel and stuff like this. And this will definitely shake up my killer tier list that will be coming up in the future. So, yeah, that is it for the video. Make sure you join the Discord. Link will always be in the description of every video. Read the community post that you can stay up to date with future content. Like I said, I'll probably be making more quicker videos in the future. So my next video will probably be a movie review and upcoming videos within the next few months to stay excited about new Halloween ranking and new Diary of a Wimpy Kid book ranking, as well as a killer tier list. So that's all I have to say for you guys. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.